SMT Nation, we are back. Nation, we are following the U.S. Cellular situation very closely. They're the last of the big regional providers, and they're basically selling out. They've got a deal for $4.5 billion with T-Mobile. They've got a deal with Verizon for $1 billion. That's the latest news. But there's still some spectrum licenses, some airwaves that are very valuable that still remain in the possession of U.S. Cellular, even through these proposed deals. So the speculation now is who's going to buy the rest of it, because clearly U.S. Cellular is for sale. And I'm here to tell you guys who it could be and how this is going to play out. I'll be sure to link the Yahoo Finance article for you guys here. It's from Benzinga, I believe. Link for that will be in the description. Ways to support us can be found there as well. Please do like and share this video. Subscribe if it's your first time here, and turn on the bell notification icon to never miss an upload from the SMT. All right, folks, so what's really left here? Well, the deal with U.S. Cellular and T-Mobile is for like 30% of the company's spectrum portfolio. Their particular deal involves cell tower access as well, and U.S. Cellular customers. For Verizon, the deal was much smaller, coming in at a value of $1 billion, and obviously there's less spectrum bandwidth involved. I think for the case of Verizon, they were focusing on the 850 megahertz, the low band, and then a little bit of additional mid-band frequencies in the 1900 and the 1700, 2100, right? So that was kind of their focus, right? Adding additional bandwidth, airwaves that they could put on immediately to existing radios. They wanted to keep it simple, keep it synergistic, right? For T-Mobile, it was a much bigger deal, right? They needed a better presence within U.S. Cellular space. Verizon's already there. Now it comes to the next deal. All right, what's left? Well, probably spectrum that is valued around $3 billion. Right, so that would be $4.5 billion, and then that's T-Mobile, and then add another billion for Verizon. That's $5.5 billion. So if we have about $3 billion left, you're looking at about $8.5 billion, possibly up to maybe $9 billion in spectrum. Okay, so what exactly is left with respect to the deals? Well, there's two other mobile network operators that have been indicated by articles saying that they have, I guess, they're making deals with U.S. Cellular. They include the CBRS spectrum licenses, the C-band licenses, and then additional 700 megahertz. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. And I think there's some millimeter wave remaining with U.S. Cellular as well. So with respect to the remaining spectrum that U.S. Cellular owns, the 700, the DoD, the CBRS, and the C-band, also the millimeter wave, they're going to be looking to sell that. And I think for sure, very confidently, I say AT&T's going to be buying a bulk of that spectrum. So for starters, the 700 megahertz makes sense for AT&T, right? They already have those radios deployed, and who the hell is going to say no to some additional bandwidth in 700, right? And I think it's an adjacent band to AT&T's band 14. So it would allow them to potentially, you know, increase their low band holdings and bolster their low band coverage. A little bit more capacity with some really low frequencies gives you good range propagation. I think that's going to work. That spectrum in terms of the bandwidth probably valued at about $500 million. 3.45 gigahertz, the DoD. There's only one company building it right now. Yes, Dish owns it, EchoStar. They haven't built it. T-Mobile's actively building it, so that only makes sense for AT&T. The problem is there's a 4-year restriction that the FCC put in place. No company can own more than 40 megahertz of bandwidth, which AT&T already has. So I'm not sure how AT&T is going to get it or get access to it, but they're going to. So it might sell to a different company, like maybe Columbia Capital, and then AT&T gets a lease for a short while. They're going to want to buy that eventually, right? Now, the CBRS piece is interesting because I really thought Verizon was going to buy it, but I guess they didn't. So the entities that buy it could be for private networks, could be for it could be big cable. I don't know. That one's kind of interesting. Verizon seems content with what they have in licenses and what they can use unlicensed, and AT&T just hasn't been too happy about the low power levels and the structure of CBRS. So it just would shock me if they ended up buying CBRS, because if they did, it would seem like an arbitrage play for them, that they would be speculating that it could have power turned up in the future and that they'd be wanting to get involved. The C-band is where things get interesting too. I think that one is clearly going to be AT&T. I think for sure they're going to want that spectrum. It's the most valuable. It's probably, going to drive the most cost in terms of money. And, it only makes sense for them to get involved because, they could use more. They could use the additional bandwidth. And I don't think there's any restrictions like the DoD is positioned. With respect to the millimeter wave, I don't know who would want this. It's 28 gigahertz, it's 37 and 39 gigahertz licenses, and nobody's really building millimeter wave except Verizon, and they're not interested, or else they would have bought it already. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if my projections or predictions are right, and I'm not even really sure if I'm making any predictions. I just think the way the things are lining up and how companies make moves for spectrum, those are the most likely that are interested in it. But tell me what you think. Do you agree with my takes or do you disagree? Who do you think would be interested in each of those licenses and has deals in place with US Cellular? And of course, we've got earnings coming up from AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon. We might learn more about it. You never know. But comment down below your thoughts and opinions on these matters down there. Love to read what you guys have to say on this. Well, the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.